Shotguns have always been a Destiny PvP staple, and to this day are some of the most popular weapons amongst the veteran player base. However, some players can find them difficult to use, so today I'm going to cover everything I know about shotguns in PvP. So let's get started. The very first thing I want to talk about is sort of how shotgun fights break down. Shotguns do not require much raw mechanical skill. You do not need to have crazy good aim to be decent with a shotgun. You can benefit from it, it does help, maybe with a nice flick shot or something like that, but the skill gap for shotguns really isn't aim. Shotgun fights basically break down into mind games and movement or positioning. These are basically the two most important factors when it comes to a shotgun duel. Especially if you are playing against another player who has a shotgun on, you really need to be trying to predict what they are going to do while simultaneously remain unpredictable yourself. So if you just run at a good player, it's very predictable. They will shut you down. You really need to be smart about what you're doing. Maybe wait for a long time and then push in when they're not expecting it, trying to catch them off guard, or you can sort of run away and double back. Sometimes if you're low health, you can run away and double back real quick. They'll think you're running away because you're low health and you can just catch them off guard, easy kill. Things like that are sort of good examples about like the mind game aspect, trying to be unpredictable. Overall, what you're basically trying to do is you're trying to bait the enemy team into making a mistake, and then you would punish them with your shotgun. Now, that mostly applies to other players with shotguns. Shotgun versus shotgun really is a mind game, and whoever makes a mistake or is caught off guard will usually lose the duel. Now, if you're against someone who doesn't have a shotgun, you can be a little more aggressive. Honestly, shotguns are pretty unstoppable in close range against someone who doesn't have one. You just have to make sure that you position correctly, or you have the proper movement to close the gap without just getting beamed. Like a lot of times players will just backpedal you, so you can't just run at everyone. Obviously Antaeus do exist, especially right now, but other than that, you really can't just run at people. As far as movement goes, you should really get used to sliding into corners with the shotgun. This helps close the gap a little bit. It can also help with peeker's advantage a bit, and it's just an overall good habit to build. You can also use shotguns in the air, but I would make sure the target is like a little bit chipped, not full health, because with the AE involved, in-air shotguns have felt super inconsistent for me personally, so I'd only do that if you have them low or maybe you get into super close range. Okay, so those are the major tips I had. Now I want to talk about some more situational or more niche tips. So, should you ADS? Well, I struggled with this for a while, trying to figure out if I thought it was better or not. And basically what I found works best for me, and I've seen some other top players do, is they will ADS more so when they are pushing with their shotgun, but then hip fire when they are on the defensive, if that makes sense. So if I'm sliding a corner, I'm going to ADS, and maybe if I'm hiding around a corner waiting for someone to push me, I'm gonna hip fire. I just found that ADS is more consistent. It lets you land more pellets, at least for me. Maybe everyone's different, I don't know. I've found this to be the best for me. I will ADS when I'm pushing, and then the reason I like to hip fire when I'm on the defensive is if I'm looking at a corner and I'm waiting for someone to slide, maybe I'm just trying to trade or something. I found that the hip fire, it lets you keep your radar, which is huge, and it just lets you see the corner more clearly, and it sort of helps because I've noticed that when I was ADS'd, people would slide and maybe they'd slide under my gun model or something. I don't know. I was losing people when I was ADS. Your screen is more constricted. You don't have a radar. So when I'm in close range and I'm holding something defensively, I prefer to hip fire. Another time I'll hip fire is sometimes I'll do it if I'm sliding a corner and I'm expecting the other person to like kind of run into me. Like if we're both sliding a corner, I'll typically hip fire because it's such close range. I've also found that to be more consistent because sometimes when I ADS, I swear I'd get flinched off the shot, or maybe I wouldn't see them under the model. That was actually kind of a problem for me. A lot of times when I ADS in super close range, if someone's sliding, they would slide under the gun model and I couldn't see them. So yeah, super close range. If I'm expecting someone to meet me on the slide, I will also hip fire. Next, I've mentioned this before, but there's always new people to the channel, especially for a small channel like me, so you might not have seen it, but you need to do chip damage when possible before you shotgun. Shotguns are so inconsistent, so you need to put some damage in before cleaning up with the shotgun in most cases. I have like a whole video on this, so I'll link it below in the description, but this is so important to learn. Definitely work on this if you don't already do it. Next up, learn to use your primary weapon with your shotgun. Hand cannons work best for this, but you don't have to kill with your shotgun. Sometimes you can just hit them for massive damage and then swap to your primary, or hit them with a melee ability, a grenade, something like this. You don't always have to just go for the one-shot shotgun. Like I said, you can also start with the primary and swap to the shotgun. You should really master both. You want your primary and shotgun to kind of work together fluidly. A shotgun's sort of like a tool that works best in conjunction with other things. It's not just its own like weapon, I guess. You want to combine it with good movement. You want to combine it with your primary weapon, your melees, your abilities, like things like Icarus Dash, your jumping, everything. The shotgun is a good tool, but it is best when combined with your entire kit. Okay, next, speaking of movement, aerial play. Like I said, shotguns are about mind games and movement, and aerial play utilizes both of these. If you are low health, you can play doorways in the air, and then you can drop down on people. You need to use your vertical space. When you're in the air, you are harder to find. You're on another plane. Now they have to sort of look up. I know that's kind of a meme, but they really do have to look up, and that can definitely throw some people off. Either way, it's more unpredictable. Like I said, it comes down to mind games. So it's a lot easier to know where someone is on the ground. It's a lot harder to know where someone is in the air. Memes aside, it really is a good idea to use your vertical space. Another time to play in the air would be to push enemies that are low health behind cover. A lot of times you'll see me hit someone with a hand cannon, maybe even just one bullet. And if they go hide behind a box or something, I'll just fly over the top of the box and push them. You can also do this by taking certain angles that sort of put you out of enemy line of sight. It's a good way to close the gap. Maybe if they're looking down the middle lane, you can take like off lanes, try to position the walls and other cover in the map to sort of make it so that you're not in the enemy line of sight while you're pushing. And finally, the last thing I want to cover is what shotgun should you use? Now, this changes every once in a while with balance patches, but there are 4 different frames of shotguns. You have the aggressive frame, precision frame, lightweight frame, and rapid fire frame. So which should you use? Well, as of the making of this video, and likely for a while from now, you can just forget about the rapid fire frames. They are significantly worse than the others, and there's just no reason to use them right now. Yeah, you could make them work, but that's like if you want to for fun. There's really no advantage to using them. There's no reason. They are significantly worse than the others, at least in the current patch of the game. Next, the lightweight frames. These are some of my favorite, and they did just get buffed at the time of this video, but I'm gonna be honest, I'd still stay away from them for now. They are just outclassed by the other 2 right now, and even after the buff, they're at least usable, but they're just not as consistent as the other 2 frames. So the other 2 frames are the aggressive and precision. Both of these can be solid depending on your preference. I currently prefer aggressive frames because I play Warlock with Ophidian Aspect, but I think precisions are probably the overall best right now, something like the Matador or the Fractithist. So what perks and stats should you look for? Well, you want to focus on range and handling as far as stats go. Nothing else really matters, honestly, just range and handling. All the other stats might as well be useless, at least in the current state of the game. So a good rule of thumb I like to have is I like to have 1 range or consistency perk and 1 handling perk. Sometimes you can have 2 range or 2 handling, it's really up to preference, but that is my general goal. Some good handling perks would be Quick Draw, Threat Detector, Surplus, or Elemental Cap. Some good range perks would be Opening Shot, that's probably the go-to. Slide Shot is also good, and then the least of the 3 is probably Fragile Focus. You can get away with Fragile Focus, I don't think it's bad, but Opening Shot's definitely the go-to, then Slide Shot. So I look for shotguns that have combos of these sets, something like Quick Draw Opening or Slide Shot, Surplus, something like that. Anything that has a combo of these 2 perks is definitely going to be solid. So the last thing I want to talk about is sort of the exotics that you can use. Some good exotics are any of the movement exotics that sort of extend the slide. So your T-Steps, Dune Marchers, Stompies, those buff your movement. Stompies did just get nerfed, but they're still pretty good in my opinion. T-Steps are also decent, they're not bad. The other options you have are any handling exotic, so something like Dragon Shadow or Ophidian Aspect. Off the top of my head, I don't think the Titan really has a handling exotic yet, but those are what I would use, either a movement or a handling exotic. Other options are things to close the gap. So, I mean, Antaeus, they are pretty crazy right now. They are very good with the shotgun, I'm not gonna lie. So the helmet on the Warlock, the blink helmet's another example. I wouldn't really recommend that, but it is an option. It is pretty good with shotgunning. Anything to help you with movement, handling, or to close the gap would be my recommendation. So that's all I really have. This is one of my first few shotgun guides. Hopefully you found something helpful. Definitely leave a like. Let me know what you found to be the most helpful, because I appreciate any feedback. But as always, I am Awake, and I'll see you guys next time.